Welcome back to the channel, where ordinary stories always turn out to be not so ordinary after all. Today, we are heading straight into the vast waters of the Atlantic Ocean, to a place that has been whispered about for decades, a place where mystery and legend seem to merge with reality. The Bermuda Triangle. If you take a map and draw 3 points, one at Miami in Florida, another at the island of Bermuda, and the third at Puerto Rico, you will see a rough triangle that covers a wide stretch of ocean. This region, though seemingly ordinary at first glance, has gained a reputation unlike any other part of the sea. It has been called many names over time: the Devil's Triangle, the Graveyard of the Atlantic, and simply the Triangle. But no matter which title you choose, the story behind it has continued to capture imaginations all over the world. So why is this area so special? And why has it drawn so much attention? The answer lies in countless reports over the years of ships and airplanes that disappeared under strange circumstances. Some vanished without sending a distress call, others left behind wreckage but no clear explanation. These stories, whether told by sailors, pilots, or newspapers, have fueled both fear and curiosity. For many, the Bermuda Triangle has become a symbol of the unknown, an endless riddle spread across the open sea. Of course, when we hear about a place with such a reputation, it is easy to think only of legends and rumors. But the Bermuda Triangle is more than just a story. It is a real geographic area, with real weather patterns, powerful currents, and heavy traffic from ships and planes traveling between the Americas, Europe, and the Caribbean. That makes it both a critical route for trade and travel and, according to many, a hotspot for unsolved mysteries. In popular culture, the Bermuda Triangle has been the subject of books, films, and documentaries. Some portray it as a dangerous zone where natural forces overwhelm even the most advanced technology, while others lean into the idea of something paranormal at work. Yet regardless of which explanation people prefer, one thing remains true. This stretch of ocean continues to fascinate, inspire, and puzzle us. As we begin our journey into this topic, we will explore the origins of the legend, the most famous cases of disappearances, and the scientific theories that might explain them. Along the way, we will also look at why the Bermuda Triangle remains such a powerful cultural phenomenon, even in an age where satellites can track almost anything. So get ready, because today we are diving into the story of the Bermuda Triangle, a place where mystery floats on the waves and questions echo across the horizon. Now that we have introduced the legend of the Bermuda Triangle, let us take a closer look at the actual area itself. If you place your finger on a map and connect 3 specific points: Miami in Florida, the island of Bermuda, and San Juan in Puerto Rico, you will outline a massive triangle that stretches over 500,000 square miles of ocean. This is not a small patch of water. In fact, it covers one of the busiest and most significant maritime and aerial routes in the entire world. To the west, Miami represents the gateway from the United States to the Caribbean and Latin America. It is a hub of commerce, tourism, and shipping. To the north lies Bermuda, a small but historically important island that has long served as a strategic outpost in the Atlantic. And to the south, Puerto Rico stands as another vital point, connecting North America to the Caribbean and beyond. These 3 locations not only define the triangle, but they also mark a region where thousands of vessels and planes pass through every year. Imagine standing on the shores of Miami Beach, looking eastward toward the open sea. Beyond that horizon lies a vast stretch of ocean where warm currents, sudden storms, and deep waters converge. Sail north and you will find Bermuda, isolated yet crucial. Travel south and east, and you will reach Puerto Rico, another bustling connection point. Together, These corners form the invisible lines of what we call the Bermuda Triangle. This area is unique not just for its geography, but also for its conditions. The Gulf Stream, a powerful ocean current, flows directly through it, carrying warm waters at incredible speeds. The region is also prone to sudden weather shifts, from tropical storms to full-blown hurricanes. Add to that the deep trenches on the ocean floor, some plunging miles beneath the surface, and you have a recipe for unpredictable events. Yet, what makes the Bermuda Triangle stand out is not simply its physical environment, but the reputation it has gained over time. If the same number of accidents had happened elsewhere, perhaps no one would give it a second thought. But here, within these three invisible lines, each disappearance adds another layer of mystery. Some say it is coincidence, others believe it is evidence of forces we do not fully understand. Either way, the geography of the Bermuda Triangle is at the heart of its legend. So, when people speak about this area, they are not referring to some mythological place. They are pointing to a very real section of the Atlantic Ocean, anchored by three locations that anyone can find on a map. The triangle may be invisible, but its story is impossible to ignore. Having understood the geography of the Bermuda Triangle, we now move to what truly gave this region its eerie reputation, the stories of ships that vanished without a trace. For centuries, sailors have told tales of vessels that entered these waters and were never seen again. Unlike storms that leave wreckage scattered across the waves, many of these cases seem to offer no answers, only questions. And it is these unanswered questions that have fueled the Bermuda Triangle legend. One of the earliest and most famous accounts dates back to 1918 with the disappearance of the USS Cyclops, a massive U.S. Navy cargo ship. The Cyclops set out on a routine voyage from Barbados to Baltimore, carrying more than 300 crew members and tons of manganese ore. But somewhere in the middle of the triangle, the ship simply vanished. There was no distress signal, no debris found, and no survivors. To this day, no trace of the Cyclops has ever been discovered, making it one of the greatest maritime mysteries in American history. This was not an isolated case. Decades later, other ships were reported missing in similar fashion. Cargo freighters, private yachts, and fishing boats have all disappeared in the triangle's waters. In some stories, a ship was later found drifting, eerily intact but completely abandoned, with no crew aboard and no explanation as to what had happened. Such images, an empty deck, meals left unfinished, personal belongings untouched, have only deepened the sense of unease surrounding this region. Skeptics argue that with so many ships passing through the area, accidents are bound to happen. And it is true, the Atlantic is a dangerous place, with sudden storms, strong currents, and hidden reefs. But what makes the Bermuda Triangle so infamous is the unusual number of reports where the evidence seems incomplete or contradictory. If a ship sinks in bad weather, we expect to find wreckage or at least have some record of a distress call. Yet in the Triangle, the stories often end with silence. To those who believe in natural explanations, the disappearances can be attributed to powerful undersea currents dragging ships down, or to violent squalls that strike without warning. But others are not so easily convinced. They point to the sheer number of vanishings and suggest there is something more at work, something beyond storms and navigation errors. And while no single explanation has been universally accepted, the Bermuda Triangle's reputation as a ship graveyard has been sealed by these mysterious accounts. When we hear about ships disappearing in calm conditions, or being found ghost-like and abandoned, it is easy to see why the Triangle has become such a cultural phenomenon. For every official investigation that cites natural causes, there are countless retellings that emphasize the mystery. In the end, these maritime stories form the foundation of the Bermuda Triangle legend, a place where ships may enter, but not all return. If the stories of disappearing ships were not enough to give the Bermuda Triangle its chilling reputation, the accounts of vanished airplanes certainly are. Just as vessels seem to fade into the sea, aircraft flying over this region have also disappeared under circumstances that left investigators puzzled and the public fascinated. Perhaps the most famous case occurred in December 1945, when a group of 5 U.S. Navy planes known as Flight 19 set out on a routine training mission from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The squadron consisted of experienced pilots and was led by a commander familiar with the area. Yet, during their exercise, radio messages became confused. The pilots reported strange compass readings, disorientation, and an inability to recognize landmarks. Hours later, contact was lost, and the planes never returned. To make matters even more unsettling, a rescue aircraft sent to search for Flight 19 also disappeared, along with its crew. To this day, no wreckage has ever been conclusively identified. The Flight 19 incident quickly became the centerpiece of Bermuda Triangle lore. It combined all the elements that would come to define the mystery: trained professionals, reliable machines, clear communication that suddenly dissolved into chaos, and a complete lack of evidence afterward. For many, it was proof that something far beyond ordinary misfortune was at play in the skies above the triangle. But Flight 19 is not the only aviation enigma tied to this area. Over the decades, commercial airliners, small private planes, and military aircraft have all been reported lost within these boundaries. Some vanished in good weather, others in storms, but what binds the accounts together is the absence of physical remains. Unlike modern crashes, where radar, satellites, and search teams usually locate debris within hours, many Bermuda Triangle disappearances leave nothing behind. Skeptics argue that aviation accidents were more common in the mid-20th century, when navigation systems were less advanced and weather forecasting less reliable. Pilots flying over open ocean could easily become disoriented, and once instruments failed, survival chances were slim. In addition, the Bermuda Triangle lies in a heavily traveled corridor, meaning statistically, more accidents were bound to occur there. Even so, the sheer number of cases and the haunting details like Flight 19's final transmissions keep the debate alive. To believers, the disappearances suggest magnetic anomalies, sudden storms, or even forces beyond human comprehension. To scientists, they are tragic but explainable mishaps in one of the world's most unpredictable environments. Regardless of which side you lean toward, the vanished aircraft stories remain a core part of the Bermuda Triangle legend. They remind us that despite all our technological progress, the skies can still hold mysteries as vast and unfathomable as the ocean below. And in this particular corner of the Atlantic, those mysteries have become a legend all their own. When we look at the Bermuda Triangle today, it often feels like a modern mystery tied to airplanes, cargo ships, and advanced technology. But the truth is that reports of strange disappearances in this region go back far longer than most people realize. For centuries, sailors and travelers crossing the Atlantic have shared accounts of bizarre events, vanishing vessels, and eerie conditions that seem to defy explanation. In fact, some of the earliest references to unusual happenings in the Triangle date back to the time of Christopher Columbus in the late 15th century. During his first voyage to the New World in 1492, Columbus recorded in his log that his crew saw strange lights dancing on the horizon and that their compasses behaved erratically as they crossed this part of the ocean. While nothing catastrophic happened to his fleet, these odd details have been interpreted by some as the first written account of the Bermuda Triangle's mysteries. As centuries passed, the region continued to build its reputation. The Atlantic Ocean was, and still is, one of the busiest maritime routes in the world. Sailors in the 18th and 19th centuries often told tales of ships that set sail never to arrive at their destination. Families back home would wait in vain for news, and shipping companies would chalk up the losses to storms or piracy. Yet in certain cases, no storm had been reported, and no wreckage was ever found. These ghost stories spread among seafarers, adding to the aura of danger that hung over the triangle. By the early 20th century, with improved communication and better record-keeping, the mysterious vanishings became harder to dismiss. Cases like the USS Cyclops in 1918 and later Flight 19 in 1945 were carefully documented by authorities, which meant they could not simply be brushed aside as sailors' rumors. These official reports, published in newspapers and later retold in books and documentaries, solidified the Bermuda Triangle's reputation in the modern imagination. It is important to note that not every loss at sea or in the air was considered extraordinary. The Atlantic has always been a challenging environment, with hurricanes, reefs, and unpredictable currents. But what sets the triangle apart is the pattern of unusual reports spanning so many decades, and even centuries. Each new incident seemed to echo the ones before it, creating a sense of continuity that strengthened the legend. Today, when we talk about the Bermuda Triangle, we are not only discussing recent history but also a chain of stories stretching back over 500 years. From Columbus's journals to the headlines of the 20th century, the idea that this part of the ocean is somehow different has been passed down from one generation to the next. Whether you view these accounts as cautionary tales, misunderstandings, or genuine mysteries, there is no denying that the legend has deep historical roots. While stories of ghost ships and vanished airplanes stir the imagination, scientists have long argued that the Bermuda Triangle's mysteries may not be supernatural at all. Instead, they believe that many of the strange events can be explained through natural forces that exist within this stretch of the Atlantic Ocean. Far from being magical, these explanations suggest that the triangle is a place where geography, climate, and physics come together in unusual ways. One of the most widely accepted ideas centers on powerful ocean currents, particularly the Gulf Stream. This current moves at remarkable speeds, sometimes faster than a human can run, and it flows directly through the triangle. If a ship were to lose power or a plane were to crash at sea, the wreckage could be swept away in a matter of hours, leaving search teams with no trace to find. This helps explain why so many accidents in the area seem to end with silence and mystery. Another factor is the unpredictable weather. The triangle lies in a region prone to sudden squalls, thunderstorms, and hurricanes. A vessel caught in one of these storms could easily capsize or sink before sending out a distress call. Similarly, a small aircraft could be overwhelmed by powerful winds or turbulence, disappearing from radar without warning. In an age before satellites and advanced forecasting, such conditions would have seemed almost supernatural to sailors and pilots. Scientists have also studied the ocean floor itself. The seabed in the Bermuda Triangle is dotted with deep trenches and steep drop-offs, some plunging several miles down. If a ship sinks in these areas, it could quickly disappear beyond the reach of divers or sonar, making recovery nearly impossible. This topography, combined with the strength of the currents, may account for why so little wreckage is ever found. A more unusual theory involves methane hydrates, frozen gas trapped beneath the seabed. Under certain conditions, these hydrates can suddenly release large amounts of methane bubbles into the water. When this happens, the density of the water decreases, making it harder for ships to stay afloat. In theory, a large enough release could cause a vessel to sink rapidly without warning. Although rare, this phenomenon has been observed in other parts of the world, lending scientific weight to the idea that it could play a role in the triangle's mysteries. Finally, There is the issue of magnetic anomalies. Some pilots and sailors have reported compass malfunctions in the triangle, leading to navigation errors that could result in getting lost or crashing. While most modern instruments are less vulnerable to such shifts, it is possible that subtle variations in Earth's magnetic field contributed to accidents in the past. Taken together, these scientific explanations paint a picture of the Bermuda Triangle as a place where natural forces combine in ways that can be deadly to those unprepared. Rather than pointing to supernatural causes, researchers suggest that the triangle's reputation may simply be the result of human encounters with one of the ocean's most dangerous environments. When it comes to the Bermuda Triangle, two natural elements stand out above all others: the powerful ocean currents and the region's sudden, violent storms. Together, they create an environment that can turn deadly in a matter of minutes. And they provide some of the most convincing scientific explanations for why so many ships and planes have struggled in this part of the Atlantic. Let us begin with the currents. The Gulf Stream, one of the strongest ocean currents in the world, flows directly through the triangle. This vast river of seawater, moving at speeds of up to 4 or 5 miles per hour, can stretch hundreds of miles wide and reach depths of thousands of feet. To sailors, this means that a disabled ship or even debris from a wreck can be carried away at astonishing speed. A vessel that sinks in the morning could be scattered over hundreds of miles by nightfall, making search and rescue operations extremely difficult. It is easy to see how wreckage could vanish almost without a trace, feeding into the triangle's mystery. For aircraft, the Gulf Stream poses another kind of danger. Because the current carries warm water from the tropics into the North Atlantic, it creates unstable atmospheric conditions. Pilots flying through the area can encounter sudden turbulence, unexpected headwinds, or storms that seem to appear from nowhere. A small plane, in particular, could be forced off course or even downed without much warning. This leads us to the second major factor: storms. The Bermuda Triangle lies in one of the most active storm zones on Earth. Hurricanes frequently sweep through the region during the Atlantic storm season, but even outside of these major events, smaller tropical depressions and squalls can form in just minutes. For sailors of past centuries, with no radar or satellites to warn them, these storms were especially dangerous. A clear horizon could suddenly give way to towering black clouds, high winds, and massive waves. Even modern ships and aircraft are not entirely safe. Thunderstorms in the triangle can create lightning strikes, strong downdrafts, and heavy rainfall that interfere with navigation equipment. Sudden bursts of wind, known as microbursts, have been known to bring down planes in other parts of the world, and the triangle's volatile atmosphere makes them a real threat here as well. Another important point is how storms interact with the ocean itself. High winds whip the sea into violent waves, sometimes reaching heights that can overwhelm even large vessels. Combine this with the Gulf Stream's fast-moving current, and the result is a chaotic and unpredictable environment where disaster can strike quickly. So, while stories of supernatural forces might be captivating, the truth is that the Bermuda Triangle sits in a perfect storm of natural hazards. Strong currents sweep away evidence, and sudden tempests make navigation perilous. Together, they create the conditions for accidents that appear mysterious, even though science shows us how nature alone can account for much of what happens in these infamous waters. Beyond storms and ocean currents, another scientific explanation for the Bermuda Triangle's mysteries involves something hidden beneath the seafloor: methane gas hydrates. These are vast deposits of frozen methane trapped in sediments deep under the ocean bed. And under certain conditions, they can erupt violently into the water above. Though invisible to the naked eye at first, their effects can be devastating for ships and even airplanes traveling overhead. Here's how it works. Methane hydrates are stable only under specific pressures and temperatures. If the seabed shifts due to an underwater landslide, earthquake, or even subtle geological changes, these hydrates can suddenly destabilize. When that happens, enormous amounts of methane gas are released into the water in a short burst, creating a rising column of bubbles. The problem is that these bubbles drastically reduce the density of the water. For a ship sailing through such an area, buoyancy is what keeps it afloat, the principle that water pushes back against the weight of the vessel. But if the water suddenly becomes filled with bubbles, it loses part of its density, meaning it can no longer support the ship's weight in the same way. In extreme cases, this could cause a vessel to sink rapidly and almost without warning. Imagine a ship gliding smoothly one moment and plunging downward the next, leaving its crew with little to no time to respond. What makes this theory even more compelling is that once the ship has sunk, the powerful Gulf Stream currents can scatter the wreckage quickly, leaving little evidence behind. To those searching for answers, it might seem as though the vessel simply disappeared into thin air. For aircraft, methane gas eruptions could pose a different kind of danger. If enough gas rises to the ocean's surface and escapes into the atmosphere, it could affect air density and even engine performance. While the likelihood of this is debated among scientists, some argue that a sudden methane release could cause engines to stall or instruments to malfunction. For a plane flying low over the ocean, such a disruption could be catastrophic. There have been real-world examples supporting this concept. In other parts of the world, methane eruptions have been observed creating massive bubbles on the ocean surface, large enough to destabilize small boats. Studies conducted in laboratories have also shown that large gas releases can indeed cause scaled ship models to sink. Though these events may be rare, their possibility adds another layer of scientific credibility to the Bermuda Triangle legend. Of course, not every disappearance can be explained by methane hydrates, and many scientists remain cautious about applying this theory too broadly. Still, it demonstrates how natural processes hidden deep below the waves can contribute to events that, on the surface, appear almost supernatural. The ocean holds secrets beneath its floor, and in the Bermuda Triangle, those secrets may occasionally rise up to rewrite the fate of ships and planes crossing its waters. Another explanation often linked to the Bermuda Triangle involves the mysterious behavior of navigation instruments, particularly the compass. For centuries, sailors and pilots have relied on magnetic compasses to find their way. Yet, in the Triangle, countless reports describe compasses spinning wildly, giving contradictory readings, or pointing to directions that did not match the real course. These so-called magnetic anomalies have become one of the most famous pieces of the puzzle. To understand why, we need to look at how compasses work. A magnetic compass aligns itself with Earth's magnetic field, usually pointing toward the magnetic North Pole. However, the Earth's field is not perfectly uniform. In some locations, magnetic north and true north, the actual direction toward the geographic pole, align almost exactly. In others, they differ, sometimes by several degrees. Navigators call this difference magnetic declination. Normally, trained sailors and pilots adjust for it. But in the Bermuda Triangle, some researchers suggest that unusual magnetic patterns may cause compasses to behave erratically, confusing even experienced crews. One historical claim is that the Bermuda Triangle is one of the few places on Earth where true north and magnetic north line up perfectly. While this is not entirely accurate, the alignment shifts over time and across regions. It highlights how small errors in navigation can lead to large consequences at sea or in the air. For example, a pilot misled by a faulty compass could drift miles off course without realizing it, especially before the advent of GPS technology. There are also accounts of compasses going completely haywire, spinning without reason or pointing in impossible directions. If true, such incidents would have left crews disoriented, unable to determine their exact heading. In the middle of a vast ocean, even a small mistake could mean missing landfall entirely or flying into worsening weather. Scientists have suggested that localized variations in Earth's magnetic field could be the culprit. These variations can be caused by natural deposits of iron-rich minerals beneath the seabed or by shifting magnetic lines that move slowly over time. In some regions, this is well documented, and navigators know how to adjust. But in an area as unpredictable as the Bermuda Triangle, such anomalies might be strong enough to confuse instruments, especially older ones. Of course, modern navigation relies on far more than compasses. Today's ships and planes use GPS, radar, and advanced avionics that are less vulnerable to magnetic disturbances. This may explain why disappearances in the triangle have become less common in recent decades. Still, the stories of malfunctioning instruments remain a key part of the legend. Whether or not the Bermuda Triangle truly hosts unique magnetic forces, the idea taps into a powerful fear that the very tools we depend on to guide us might suddenly fail. For sailors in the age of exploration or pilots in the early days of aviation, a spinning compass needle would have been nothing short of terrifying. And in the lore of the Bermuda Triangle, that terror has left a permanent mark. While scientists search for practical explanations, not everyone is convinced that natural forces alone can explain the Bermuda Triangle. Over the years, many have turned to supernatural or paranormal theories to fill in the gaps left by unanswered questions. These ideas, while not backed by hard evidence, have played a huge role in shaping the Triangle's reputation as one of the most mysterious places on Earth. One of the most popular suggestions is the idea of a time warp or dimensional portal hidden within the triangle. According to this theory, certain areas in the ocean act like gateways to another world or another time. Ships and planes, it is said, may slip through these portals and vanish completely, explaining why no wreckage is ever found. Stories circulate of pilots who claim to have experienced sudden time jumps, where hours passed in seconds or entire stretches of their journey seemed to disappear without explanation. Though never proven, such accounts feed into the idea of the triangle as a place where the normal laws of physics do not always apply. Another enduring theory involves extraterrestrials. Some believe the Bermuda Triangle is a hotspot for UFO activity, with alien spacecraft responsible for abducting ships and planes. Proponents of this view argue that the disappearances are too sudden, too clean, and too numerous to be explained by storms or human error. They suggest that advanced beings may be studying humans or even using the region as a kind of harbor hidden from the rest of the world. While there is no concrete proof, the idea has become deeply ingrained in pop culture, especially through movies, TV shows, and novels. There are also whispers of ancient civilizations, particularly Atlantis. According to legend, the triangle may overlap with the ruins of Atlantis, a highly advanced society that supposedly sank beneath the waves thousands of years ago. Some versions claim that the Atlanteans possessed powerful crystal energy that still lies beneath the ocean floor, disrupting navigation systems and pulling ships to their doom. Though historians regard Atlantis as myth, the story adds another layer of intrigue to the Bermuda Triangle's legend. For others, the explanation lies in spiritual or otherworldly forces. Some believe the area is cursed, a region where restless souls or ocean spirits wreak havoc on those who cross it. Sailors of past centuries often spoke of the sea as alive and unpredictable, and the triangle seemed to embody that fear more than any other stretch of water. While mainstream science dismisses these theories, their popularity endures for a reason. They capture the imagination, offering possibilities that are more thrilling than technical explanations about weather or ocean currents. And in the world of storytelling, mystery often matters more than certainty. In the end, whether you see the Bermuda Triangle as a scientific puzzle or a supernatural riddle depends on your perspective. But one thing is certain, the paranormal theories have ensured that the triangle's legend will never fade, continuing to fascinate those who seek answers beyond the ordinary. Among the many supernatural explanations for the Bermuda Triangle, two ideas stand out as the most popular and enduring: alien activity and dimensional portals. While neither has scientific proof, both continue to capture imaginations because they provide answers that go beyond the limits of human understanding. Let us start with the theory of alien involvement. For decades, UFO enthusiasts have claimed that the triangle might serve as a base of operations for extraterrestrials. According to this idea, unidentified flying objects are not just spotted in the skies, but may also emerge from or vanish into the ocean itself. Some witnesses have even reported strange lights hovering over the water in the triangle, fueling speculation that advanced spacecraft could be responsible for the disappearances. The logic behind this theory is simple: if alien technology is far beyond ours, then causing a ship or plane to vanish without leaving a trace would be easy. Supporters argue that abductions may explain why vessels sometimes disappear suddenly and why wreckage is often never found. In popular culture, this image of the Bermuda Triangle as an alien harbor hidden in plain sight has been repeated countless times in books, documentaries, and films. While mainstream science rejects the idea, it thrives because it is exciting. It gives a cosmic scale to an already baffling mystery. Equally intriguing is the concept of dimensional portals. This theory suggests that the Bermuda Triangle may overlap with a region where space and time behave differently. In this scenario, ships and planes do not simply sink or crash, they cross over into another dimension or timeline. Some proponents claim that electromagnetic disturbances in the triangle could act like a tear in the fabric of reality, opening temporary gateways. Stories tied to this idea are often dramatic. Pilots have described experiences where their instruments went blank, the sky turned an unusual color, or time itself seemed to skip forward. In one famous account, a pilot flying over the triangle reported traveling through what he described as a tunnel of clouds, after which he found himself hundreds of miles off course but with less fuel used than expected. While skeptics dismiss such tales as exaggerations or errors in memory, they continue to circulate as evidence of something extraordinary hidden within the triangle. Both theories, aliens and portals, share a common theme: the notion that the Bermuda Triangle is more than a natural hazard, that it is a place where Earth brushes against forces beyond human comprehension. Whether it is beings from another world or dimensions outside our own, these ideas push the mystery into the realm of science fiction and mythology. And yet, that may be why they endure. People crave explanations that match the scale of the mystery, and nothing feels bigger than cosmic visitors or gateways to other worlds. Even if scientists remain unconvinced, for many, the thought of the Bermuda Triangle as a cosmic intersection is far too compelling to let go. As we come to the end of this journey, one thing becomes clear: the Bermuda Triangle remains one of the most captivating modern mysteries of our time. Despite centuries of stories, decades of investigation, and countless theories, the triangle continues to straddle the line between fact and legend. It is this delicate balance where science, history, and imagination intersect that keeps people returning to the story again and again. What makes the Bermuda Triangle so enduring is not just the reports of ships and planes vanishing. After all, accidents happen all over the world's oceans. Instead, it is the atmosphere of mystery that surrounds this particular region. Each incident feels larger than life, whether it is the silent disappearance of the USS Cyclops, the haunting tale of Flight 19, or the countless smaller cases whispered about by sailors and pilots. Each adds another thread to the tapestry of the triangle, weaving a story that is both chilling and endlessly fascinating. Over the years, the Bermuda Triangle has become more than just a place on the map. It has become a symbol of the ocean's power, of humanity's curiosity, and of the limits of our knowledge. To scientists, it represents the challenge of untangling complex natural forces. To storytellers, it is a canvas for imagination. A stage where aliens, ancient civilizations, and portals to other worlds can all coexist. To the public, it remains a mystery that refuses to be fully solved, no matter how rational the explanations may seem. Even in the modern age of satellites, advanced navigation, and instant communication, the Bermuda Triangle continues to capture attention. Documentaries revisit it, novels reinvent it, and discussions online bring new audiences into its legend. Each generation discovers it anew, asking the same questions: what really happens there? Why do the stories never fade? Could there still be truths hidden beneath the waves? And perhaps that is the greatest power of the Bermuda Triangle, not in the answers it provides, but in the questions it inspires. Mysteries remind us that the world is still vast. That there are corners of Earth and of history that resist easy explanation. They challenge us to keep searching, to keep exploring, and to accept that sometimes the unknown is just as valuable as the known. So, whether you see the Bermuda Triangle as a natural hazard exaggerated by rumor, or as a place where forces beyond our understanding are at work, one thing is certain: its legend is here to stay. The ocean may eventually reveal its secrets, but until then, the Bermuda Triangle will continue to stand as a modern myth, a reminder that even in our age of technology, the sea still holds mysteries that stir the imagination and send chills down the spine. And so, after exploring centuries of stories, theories, and legends, we are left with one undeniable truth: the Bermuda Triangle continues to fascinate us because it represents the perfect blend of reality and mystery. Ships and planes may vanish for natural reasons, or perhaps there are forces at work that science has yet to explain. Either way, the triangle reminds us that the ocean is still one of the most powerful and unpredictable realms on Earth. Maybe the answers lie in strong currents, sudden storms, and hidden geological forces. Or maybe, just maybe, the legend lives on because we as humans are drawn to the unknown. Mysteries like the Bermuda Triangle remind us that not everything can be neatly explained, and sometimes the most powerful stories are those that leave us with more questions than answers. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into one of the world's greatest modern enigmas. If you enjoyed today's journey, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe the Bermuda Triangle is a natural phenomenon, or do you think something beyond science is at play? I would love to hear your perspective. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep exploring the mysteries of our world. See you in the next story.